In this short tutorial, we present some examples of searching for and downloading datasets that are registered in the MGDS system. We'll start on the MGDS homepage, shown here, and we'll use the big Find Data button in the middle to do the searches. First, let's have a look at the list of example searches that we'll perform. The MGDS homepage is shown here at www.marine-geo.org, and this is the list of examples. The first one we'll look at is a simple search for all the data associated with H. Paul Johnson's 2013 heat flow dataset. That's this one. In the second example, we'll do a two-parameter search. We'll search for magnetic anomaly data associated with Udo Barkhausen. The third example is to look for shape files that show the lava flow outlines as derived by Bill Chadwick's research. That's a three-parameter search. The fourth example is a geographical-based search, and this one will look for marine multi-channel seismic data in the Atlantic off the Iberian Peninsula, and we'll use the map-based interface for that. And the last example we'll look at is to search for all the bathymetry data collected with the Alvin submersible. That's this one here. So, returning to the MGDS homepage, we'll begin the searches. So here we click on the Find Data button, and that brings up the search interface. We see a big map over on the right, and in the left are the controls where we can search for certain parameters. In the drop-down menu on the left, we see the particular parameters, the keywords we can search for. There is data type, that's the default, device type, reference or citation, name of an investigator associated with a particular data set, an expedition or compilation name, for example, the name of a cruise, then the name of a ship or a platform, so that's where we could use Alvin. There's the file format option, and then we have other options where we can search for particular date ranges, platforms by geographical region, or for data sets associated with a particular NSF award, and funding agency and initiative or data portal. So let's begin the first search, and that is to look for all of the data sets associated with the Johnson et al. 2013 heat flow paper. For that, we'll go and choose the reference citation option, and we'll type Johnson in the text box here, and the items that conform to those parameters come up, and we see that there's a Johnson et al. 2013 heat flow paper. That's the one we want, so we select that. And we don't need any other parameters for now, so we'll choose to list the results by the individual data sets, and we'll just click the search button. And here we see 5 data sets have come up, and over in the map we can see the location of those data sets is shown off the northwest Pacific coast of the US in the Cascadia region. So as an example of a data set, let's go and look for this heat flow data set. We click on it, and we see that it's heat flow, and there's various other bits of information related to devices and the quality of the data. And we click on heat flow here, and up comes the download page. The first thing we see is the padlock symbol next to the data table. That padlock symbol, as we see at the top here, indicates that the dataset, this particular dataset, is currently on proprietary hold. And if we look in the right of the display, we see the release date of the dataset as being in September 2017. So for now, we cannot download this particular dataset. So we'll close that one, and let's go and try one of the other heat flow datasets. Let's try this one, which comes from the JSON2 thermal blankets. And again, we click on the heat flow link, and we see the title of the dataset up here, the description of it. There's a DOI for the data set listed in the middle, and for this data set there's no padlock symbol. Instead we have the tick box, and we click on that and we see that the download button is active now. So we click download the files, and we'll choose that we're doing it for research and hit the accept button. It comes up with the download option. So when we save that file, we can unpack it, and in it we'll find a README file that talks about how to cite the data and the data file itself. So that's the end of the first example. So for the second search example, we return to the search interface and we're going to clear it. So we click the little red X up here next to the search parameter, and now we see that we've cleared the search interface and we're ready for the second one. So the second example is to search for and download the magnetic anomaly data associated with Udo Barkhausen. So for that, we'll go under the drop-down menu and we'll choose Investigator, and we can either start typing the name in here or we can select from a list. So we'll go and we'll choose B for Barkhausen, and we go down and there we see Udo Barkhausen listed here. We select him, and then we're also going to choose the data type, magnetic anomaly data. So data type is the default parameter, and we can start typing magnetic anomaly, and there we go. It auto-completes and we select that. So we have the two search parameters, Udo Barkhausen and magnetic anomaly data, and we hit the search button. And here we see the dataset is listed, and on the map we see a yellow rectangle that displays the footprint of that particular dataset. If we click on the magnetic anomaly link, then we go to the intermediate page. That takes us to the download page. And like in the first example, we can click the tick box and download the dataset. So let's move on to the third example. For this one, we're going to search for Bill Chadwick shapefiles of lava flow outlines. So we'll choose Investigator again, and we'll start typing Chadwick, and we see Bill Chadwick listed here. And we know that these particular files that we're interested in are shapefiles, so we can also choose file format. So format, and then we're not quite sure how shapefiles might be listed, so we'll look at the list and we'll scroll down, and here we see down at the bottom SHP shapefiles, so that's the one we want. And for the data type, now it says lava flow outlines. These are geological interpretation, so let's have a look on the list at what options we have. So for this particular option, we know it's not navigation data, and there's the geological interpretation, so we select that, and off we go with the search. And here we see listed two data sets, and one is associated with Dave Caress entry in the database, and the other is associated with Bill Chadwick. So let's choose that one, and we'll go and have a look at it. And in this case, we have some lava flow outlines from 1998. If we go back to the intermediate page, then and scroll down, we see that we have another example here. Let's click on that one. And these are the more recent 2015 lava flow outlines. And we see that we have three different files. In this case, they're all zipped. There's lava flow outlines in geographical projection, lava flow outlines in UTM projection, and then a shapefile that contains the fissures of that area, of the axial, Handafuka axial area. So we can choose any or all of these datasets and download them, as we've already seen. So that's the end of the third search example. For the fourth example, we'll go back to the search interface and just clear the search parameters from the previous example. And the task here is to find multi-channel seismic reflection data near Portugal. So there's a couple of ways we can approach this. One is let's go find multi-channel seismic data first from the list. So for seismic data, if we start typing seismic in here, then the autocomplete shows there's the MCS data item right there. We'll select that. And then to narrow the search to Portugal, or the Atlantic near Portugal, we'll go into the map and bring the Iberian Peninsula into the center, and then zoom in. And as we do that, so we're interested in data in the area here. We see down at the bottom of the map there's a button that says narrow results to the map area. So let's zoom in just a little bit more. Okay, and then we're going to select results from that area, and right away we see that we've chosen seismic reflection data for this particular bounding box that was automatically generated when we zoomed into the map, and we see that we have 3 different example data sets here. So let's have a look at Dale Sawyer's more recent data set from 2013. This was to the glacier margin, so we'll click on that one. And let's see what we have here. We have some seismic navigation, more navigation, shot times. Aha, and down at the bottom we have the actual MCS data, and we see it's in SegD format. So let's choose that, and up comes the list of actual data files. Again, we have the dataset title and description at the top of the page here, and the DOI for this dataset is listed in the middle. And if we look at the list, then we see we have tar files, and the size of the tar files is actually very big. So let's choose one of these. We'll choose, say, this one here. That's 18.7 gigabytes in size. And instead of the download the file button, we see that the button now says request the file because it's so big. So we'll click on that, and the request interface opens. So we say we're going to do it for research, and yes, we'll do a file transfer instead of a tape or a disk. And once we put in our contact information, name and email, and hit the request data, the request is sent to the MGDS team, and the particular data files that have been selected will be staged and made available for download, and email will be sent to the requester when the files are ready for download. For the last example, we're going to search for bathymetry data collected with the Alvin submersible. So from our drop-down list, let's look for Alvin, so that will be under ship or platform name, and we'll select from the list. And there's Alvin, the human-occupied vehicle, so we select Alvin, and then we're going to choose bathymetry data, so there's data type is already selected as the next option. So we start typing bathymetry if we wish, or we can choose it from the list. There we go. And now we'll hit search. And we see that many data sets have come up here, 12 in total, and we can scroll down there. And if we choose one particular one, like this one from 2006, from an Atlantis cruise, we see that we have just one data set listed, and we click on it and see the details, and we see that we have ASCII data given in with the ImageNX machine, and we see a whole bunch of files that are listed by the dive ID, so dive 4279, 4280, 4281, and so on. And as we've done before, we can select the files that we want, so let's say those 3, and hit the download select files button, and we go to the download screen from where we can download the files. So that concludes the examples of how to search for and download data. And if you have any questions, please feel free to email us at info@marine-geo.org and we'll endeavour to answer your questions.